Musical Talk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, welcome to Musical Talk. My name's Nick Hudson. It's a very difficult episode to record this week, as with Broadway and the West End effectively dark until we don't know when, it's really hard. But we're going to carry on with discussions about musical theatre. We're all kind of sat around not knowing what to do, so we hope that you are enjoying Musical Talk. We're going to be talking about Back to the Future and Six, which shows that are very, very exciting. We hope they'll come back at some point. I went to see Back to the Future last weekend at the Manchester Opera House, and I sat down with my friends Chris and Nikki to talk about it, and I also sat down with my friend Ryan to talk about Six. So enjoy these discussions, and I hope we'll be back in the theatres again soon. So I'm sat here with my good friend Ryan Nixon. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm very good. How
Ryan,
are you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Ryan, you're usually on my theme park podcast, but you're also a
Yes.
musical theatre fan. So today you and I went to see a show that you have an interesting history with, don't you? Because I yelled to you about it. Oh, you got to go and see Six. And you said, oh, I don't like the music.
Well, yeah, so I didn't really know. When Six blew up, I didn't really listen to a lot of it. I heard bits and bobs here and there, and the stuff I heard was like, okay, sure, like, it's fine. And then more and more people, very, like, sort of in my close circle of friends, went to see it, and they were like, it's excellent, you need to see it. And I was like, okay, sure, fine. So I started to listen to it a bit more, and the cast album, it grew on me quite a bit over time. And then I started to hear like live recordings, and I was like, oh, this is different to what is recorded as the cast album, to finally all building ahead to this morning me messaging Nick going, there's 2 tickets to Six today, are you free? And we ended up going to see it.
Six, as we talked about before on the podcast, I can only describe as a cultural phenomenon.
Yes.
As I said before, it's an old record here, but I've never seen an Edinburgh show be such a hit in like 8 places around the world at once.
Insane. It's insane. The growth of it is insane. But now I've seen it, I can understand why. Because it's so intelligent. The lyrics in it, the book, the everything dialogue-wise, including lyrics, and is some of the best I've heard
the book
in a
is
long
the
time.
surprise, because
Yes.
if you know the album, the songs are fun to listen to, but you can kind of sit back and let it wash over you. But the book is so funny,
Yeah.
and touching.
Yes.
And it really, this show is, the content is too good for this show, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Can you explain it for people who might not know what I mean?
Well, it's one of those things where,
On paper, it shouldn't work.
yeah. So like when somebody described the show to me, I was like, oh, okay. Well, as you've heard from my reaction when I initially heard it, it's really bad of me to judge something without seeing it. But in past, like, it's not an excuse, but this is my excuse, and I'm going to use it, and I think it's a fair one. In the past, things have been, and it's not just theatre, it's movies, it's theme park attractions, if we're talking about that, have been so hyped up to a degree because of
Do Evan Hansen,
stuff like that, yeah. And you get to this level of like, it can't possibly succeed. Hamilton. And because of all of those things, I put it at arm's distance and went, no, I'm not doing it, I'm not having it, because it's a problem now. It's not a problem, it's great, because this is how theatre evolves, and theatre reaches the people it reaches as people get excited about it.
you are trained in musical theatre. You went
Yes.
to Arts Ed down the road, and you know it's you know what you're talking about. You're not just some random queen that's come on the podcast.
Well, I am a bit of a random queen, but you know, I yeah.
But this is very much your kind of show, isn't it? You like
Yes.
camp fabulousness,
And belt in my face and I will be happy, especially if it's 6 fabulous women belting in my face for 80 minutes.
glitter falling
with
down.
glitter falling down, fabulous choreography, hilarious music, hilarious jokes, stuff that's really close to the bone as well. everything. And it's funny because I went into it going, okay, I'm really excited, and I came out of it going, I'm really excited to see it again.
You often theatre, you and I know that theatre is addictive, don't we?
Yes.
Because for me, the litmus test for a show is, would I see it again? Mm-hmm. And some shows, I've seen Dear Evan Hansen once. I've seen Hamilton once.
Yes.
I've seen Six twice, only because you can't get a ticket.
Yeah.
And it might be you can't get a ticket because it's in a 400-seat theatre.
I don't think so.
But I was looking today, it's just sold out for weeks.
Yeah. We dropped on these tickets this morning because I messaged Nick and they just, two of the best seats in the house popped up and I went, we have to do it. I can't message Nick, and they disappeared. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll go at some other point. And then through some stroke of luck, Nick managed to get them, which was great. Something this show does that I feel like has kind of been lost over time is it brings back that excited buzz before a show. It really has that, like, everybody's waiting for it to start. Whereas nowadays, I feel like everyone's just sort of... I can't explain it. It brings back the sort of electric atmosphere right before a show starts, and it carries it right through, and it really lends itself to that, I think. There's
a couple of things you noticed. It has pop songs played on the harpsichord, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But also there's no pre-show announcement.
No.
And I think for a number of reasons. One, it's not a musical, it's a concert.
Yeah.
Two, if they were to do a pre-show announcement, it would ruin the music starting and the lights fading.
Because as soon as that starts, people are talking, people are excited, but the way it starts, it's so simply done, everyone just silence, and these queens walk out and you could hear a pin drop. You just wait. It's so... I had a bit of a geek fest. I'm very glad I've seen it, and will I be going back? Absolutely. Do I want to be cast in this if it is ever possible? Yes, I do.
Ryan will be having your operation soon.
Oh no.
This is my second time seeing it. I saw it last summer and I much enjoyed it. I enjoyed it much more this time because I was in a better seat and I had company.
Yes.
So it's always nice to see it with someone you know. But also I was able to really know, okay, that bit's going to happen now. Oh, I'd forgotten about that. That's funny. I didn't realise there was dialogue in this song.
Yes.
So a lot of the songs are split up as they are on the album. There's interspersed dialogue. There's musical bits we don't even hear on the album, which is great fun. It's a very, very clever... It's too clever, this piece of theatre, which makes it wonderful.
It's... I think this has exploded already. Professionally, you've got tours, you've got Broadway, you've got the West End, you've got which cruise is it? Norwegian Cruise Line. You've got Australia as well,
and New Zealand.
So the next stage, I think, for this production is when the moon. I think once they release the rights for amateur societies, and I don't know if schools could do it. They might have to rewrite a few things for schools, but that will take it into a new era as well.
Atmosphere.
But this is why I don't know if they will release it for a while, because I feel like...
No, what's also interesting is obviously the next level is film, but this would not work on film. It
wouldn't work. The way they immediately break the fourth wall, that's like that fourth wall being torn down. This is going to sound very silly, but that audience interaction in and of itself is a character for this piece. I sound really like this piece of theatre. You know what I mean? This show, it's almost that audience interaction is a character with it, like, on its own.
It's like Ghost Stories.
Yes.
Another show that you and I got highly addicted to.
Yes, we did. I'd be intrigued to see how this pulls off in a bigger theatre, because I really liked the intimacy of the show.
Well, the reason I want to mention it is it's very timely, because it's currently, the time of recording, it's in previews on Broadway.
Yes.
Which is astonishing.
Yes.
That a show that is 3 years old is selling out in New York and all over the world.
But it is. It's a question that sounds really whatever, but is it that astonishing? I mean, it is, but like when you look at the piece, it goes, well, that makes sense because it is so brilliantly done. It's not just, and I'm going to hold my hands in the air and say, it's not just the catchy pop songs that you think it is when you first hear it. That might be its surface level, but there is a lot more to this show than I think anyone expects before they actually physically see it.
And what I loved about it was I was sat next to an elderly lady with her elderly husband, and they were both laughing and clapping along, and I was laughing and clapping along, and you were laughing and clapping along. So that's many different generations of people. It's not just little teeny girls who enjoy this show. That is its market.
Yeah, well, is it though? Because the humour is so intelligent. The humour is so incredibly crafted because it reaches those who understand what is being said, but also it's delivered in a way where you can still get that punchline even if you're not 100% sure as to what's being said.
And all the historical facts as well.
It's been a very long time since I've sat and watched a piece of theatre and been like, I need to see it again because there is so much that I would have missed this time round because some of it's really subtle and it's not. This is the thing, for a show that could be so in your face, it really isn't. I don't think it is. Like, it's not in your face because you're a part of it rather than watching it. I don't feel like, yes, you've got these fabulous vocalists and fabulous women performing, but you're being invited along rather than being asked to watch, you know?
Yeah, you were in the room
where it happens.
Sorry, wrong historical musical told with pop songs. We are part of it.
Yes.
And when the story twists, it's really quite moving.
Yeah, it is. I agree. That's the thing. I didn't expect. You go into it again with a lot. I went into it with a lot of my own expectations, thinking it's going to be like a really uplifting, happy time, which it is, absolutely. But there are beats in the show that really are very emotional. They reflect quite. It's a moment for self-reflection, especially the whole message of the show as well.
Yeah.
I encourage every single person on the planet to see this show.
And I think every person on the planet will see this show because it'll be playing somewhere where every person on the planet can walk outside and probably go to a production of this.
Yeah. And when the rights are released for amateur production, I plan to do at least 6 of them.
The one-man show.
I will make my way around the Queens in 6 different productions of 6.
What's interesting is on Broadway they're doing it in American accents.
Yes.
In Australia they're probably doing it in Australian accent. 6. Do you want to go and have 6? That doesn't bother me as much because the idiom of the music is so American. I know the Lily Allen references are probably, Don't Lose Your Head is very British.
But the show, I feel like if they went, no, it has to be strictly British and it has to be strictly female performers, because
feel part of.
But it's not that. It would be contradictory to the message of the show.
Yeah.
They couldn't go, no, you're American, but you have to speak in a British accent. You are not. You identify as anything other than female. You can't be cast in the show. But they're not doing that.
No.
It's equal opportunities. It's an equal opportunities employment basis, and also everywhere they encourage people to be themselves. You have an American accent, you have an Australian accent, you have any other accent. We want that in the show, and if they did anything other than that, it would contradict the message of what the show is saying. And it's possibly one of the most empowering and inclusive pieces of theatre ever. I think not just inclusive of the people who would be employed to work this show, but also inclusive of the audiences, where it's going to be playing, who the show is accessible by. Because as you said, the audience is so varied. You see dads go in and like, oh, this is, you can tell they're like, oh, I'm just going to see this with my daughter, sort of thing, and they end up howling because it's brilliant. And yeah, I feel like if I said anything, I'd be repeating a lot of the same notes.
But also the accents work in the different locations because it is a concert.
Yes.
So it's hello London, hello New York, and it's also time specific. They didn't say good evening.
No, they said good afternoon.
They said today. and this afternoon. So it's really then and
You
there.
are truly in the moment when you are involved with the show in any capacity. And
Are they ghosts though? I don't. I mean, I suppose the dead ones must.
I don't think
It's a weird kind of. Is this in heaven or
I don't think it. That
stupid death?
I feel like I don't think that's the point of what you're there to see.
It just dawned on my mind, like, where is this actually happening?
Well, some of the costumes are really clever. So the two queens that were beheaded had chokers on.
Oh, okay, never noticed.
Yeah, so things like that. So there are subtle things that lend themselves.
What surprised you in the show that you weren't expecting?
The book, in the sense that how
Specific moments.
specific moments.
Because you asked me, how does House of Holbein work? And you found out, didn't you?
That's so funny. The whole. I'm fully giving this show away. So before I carry on, though it will be too late, please stop and come back to this. But it's a whole section about Tinder. It's such excellent commentary on the now, and that was very funny. And the then, yeah, absolutely. It beautifully ties. I think what surprised me is how current it is whilst also being historic. I know that sounds yeah, but
I mean, it's amazing. The girl who's done the book and the lyrics and co-directed it, Lucy Moss.
Yeah.
Congratulations. She's now the youngest ever female director in Broadway history.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to see what they have next.
Lucy Moss and
Toby Marlowe.
Yeah.
Who did the music.
Honestly, this duo, in comparison, I'm very... I'm curious to see what comes next, because with such a hit, is it not a lot of pressure to say you kind of have to have another hit now at this point? And I mean, we can see what they can do in a 75-minute show, never mind a full 2.5 hour
emotional book musical.
Yeah.
But I was reminded watching the show, they can actually do dialogue that sounds so natural.
Yes.
It's almost as if we are watching this piece break down in front of us.
Absolutely. And that's a push and pull with how excellent the book is, but also how excellent the performers are as well.
Which leads us on to the other joy of this show, is you don't know who you're going to get.
No, exactly, which is great. And I think, again, this seems to break the stigma that a lot of, I don't want to say general public, because general public is one of those terms that can be a little bit insulting.
You mean the GP?
The GP. You know, but like the general practitioner. It breaks down the barriers of, with a lot of the public, there is we have the understudy on today, or we have the alternate, blah, blah, blah. I've never seen any of that with this.
No.
And it seems to have...
Because there's no lead.
No. It seems to have broken down and like tackled that huge flaw that there is in the public now, where it's like, just because somebody isn't necessarily the lead does not mean they're not fantastic for that role. No. And they've really tackled that so well. These two, Lucy and Toby as well, I think everybody's going to want to be employed by these guys currently and moving forward, including myself, because
not that they have any say over who does performance in their shows.
You don't know.
Especially if she's directing, though. That's interesting.
You don't know how long this goes, how deep it goes. But
I mean, we have to give credit to the other director, who's Jamie Armitage.
Yeah.
But this show has an interesting history. If you don't know, it started at Cambridge University.
Yeah. And
as an exercise, you were saying?
I think so. I could have read this completely wrong.
Because
its initial conception was when they were at Cambridge, and it went to the Fringe, and then it's now transferred. That's a very condensed version of what I've read.
I mean, they've done another show called Hot Gay Time Machine.
Sounds amazing.
And I think, which I'd be really interested to hear, that's an Edinburgh show.
Yeah.
But this wasn't written to be a hit. They're as surprised as...
I think nobody can dictate what is a hit and what isn't. I feel like if you go into it going, I need to write a hit,
I need this video to become, let's make a viral video.
it never works. And this is a great example. But what's so impressive to me and what I think is so important to acknowledge is, though they didn't expect it, they have sure as hell carried on as the professionals they are. And not once, I don't know personally behind the scenes, but from somebody looking sort of on the outside, looking in kind of thing. Darren Hanson, man, never mind.
Tapping on the window.
Yeah, exactly. Can I swear on this?
Yeah.
They have their shit together. They've not once has it ran away from them, but from what I've seen, and it's amazing that they sort of probably had to regroup and collect themselves and go, hang on.
I mean,
but
they're still... I remember them saying on Twitter when it was opening on Broadway, it's like, we're miffed. Why are we here? What have we've written a small show in Edinburgh.
it's amazing. It really is amazing, and it must be extremely humbling.
Actually, I don't know them. I was very moved watching Six, just thinking this tiny little show is now... I think yesterday they announced they celebrated
100 million streams and downloads.
Yeah.
What
which
is
is
that?
only overtaken by Hamilton.
That's insane. And the fact
Which is
that
now it's the second most streamed musical of all time.
it's amazing. That is amazing.
But do you think Hamilton is an influence for this show?
I feel like it might have been, especially around the time, if the timelines work out the way they seem to have worked out. Nobody knows if any of the creatives had this show in their head for 10 years prior. But had Hamilton not happened, do I think this show might not have happened? Maybe not. It might have, but it might have happened in a different capacity. In terms of both of them, I prefer Six to Hamilton.
Have you seen Hamilton?
Yeah. I get more out of...
Well, it's certainly shorter, I'll give it that. And cheaper.
And cheaper. I get more out of listening to Six than I do listening to Hamilton.
You get more value for money with Hamilton, though.
Do you, though?
Because Hamilton goes on for about 6.5 hours, and you pay £120 for that.
Yeah.
And Six, you pay...
How much did we pay? 70?
We paid £68 each for Six.
Yeah. And it's 70.
And it's 70, 80 minutes.
Yeah, so just under £1 a minute. But...
You're laughing and smiling for the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. The quality of it is like, yes.
I too like the fact it's in an intimate theatre. I just wish it were in a nicer theatre.
I don't think the theatre itself is particularly horrendous. I just think the setup of it's a little bit awkward. That's all. But that's not...
It had a very fringy feel about it.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's what they're trying, keeping it in its roots and things.
But I'd be intrigued to see it on tour with the bigger theatres. I'd be very intrigued to go and see this on Broadway. For the Broadway ticket prices, maybe not.
$500.
But people will pay that. People are clearly paying that, and people will continue to...
standing to see it.
People will continue to pay that. So... There's nothing more I can say than Six is I'm going to rhyme now. There's nothing more I can say but Six is here to stay. Call me Dr. Seuss, or I might be the next lyrical genius. Who knows? I'm absolutely not.
You won't be.
I won't be. I'm terrible. But it's here to stay for a long time. It's been extended to 21, I think. And again, I think once Six sort of dies down in terms of...
that was a dreadful musical.
Once was fantastic. Shut up. Once Six dies down in the hype over the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, I reckon it'll go on for even longer. What's great for this is I'm tangenting. Let me go back to it, what I was saying. But I think the next reiteration of this and the next boom for this production is going to be when they release the rights for amateur societies and schools to do. I think this is going to be the next... I don't know. I'm trying to think of...
Annie?
Annie is atrocious.
It's very well written, though, the songs. But what I mean is, it's less family friendly than Annie. Sorry, it's less family friendly than Annie. I think it could be the next Little Shop of Horrors, which is very popular, or Grease.
Grease, yeah. Again, comparatively speaking, for me personally, again, personal opinion, this is far superior. The quality of this show, if they do even release the rights, I don't know, but I feel like the boom of 6, that will be the second. Well, it's had, 3? Because the Fringe, it blew up. Now it's blown up professionally around the world.
Blew up twice at the Fringe.
Yeah.
They did the mosh pit, the flash mob
at Tower of London.
At the Tower of London.
Yeah.
And 14,000 million people turned up to see that.
It's insane. It's insane. I don't know what more points I can touch on without hitting the same notes.
I want to mention the band.
Oh, Christ,
which no one really ever talks about.
Well, the names of the band is really clever. I didn't realise, but the names of the band are they're not the band's names, they're characters. They're actually women who were in waiting for Henry VIII, I think.
Wow.
Like
Mind blown.
Yeah,
I never knew that. I thought they were...
like Joan and stuff. That's not...
Because I thought, is she really called Joan?
No. They're ladies in waiting.
Does that mean they have to be are they actors technically? So are they on double the fee?
Maybe. I don't know. Again, money is not something I am 100% able to do. I have none of it, but it's not something I'm able to talk about.
Especially after seeing 6.
But yeah, that I found that out. They're all ladies in waiting. So it goes even deeper. Like when you really invest in the show, it's like, what?
There is an hour-long interview with the writers when they were at BroadwayCon talking about it and the whole creative. So if you are interested, you should watch that.
Yeah.
But Ryan, thank you very much for joining me for 6.
Thank you.
The most catchy one line in any show.
It's excellent. They must get tired of people screaming 6 at them, though.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Thank you.
This is Alan Menken, and you are listening to Musical Talk.
So I'm sat here with my friends Chris and Nikki. We are at somewhere completely unrelated to musical theatre, but that's for another podcast entirely, literally. We want to talk about Back to the Future, the musical, which we saw yesterday at the Manchester Opera House. And to say you two are Back to the Future fans is an understatement. You're both sat here with merch on your chests, aren't you?
Indeed, yes, massive Back to the Future fans. Ever since I first saw the film, I fell in love with it, and then saw parts 2 and 3, and I watch them at least once a year religiously. I absolutely adore that film series. I quote all of it all the time. You're the same, aren't you, Nikki?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said about the merch, it's a show is good when, like, the second it finishes, you're like, I have to buy as much merch as possible.
As was evident with the queue.
It was huge
in the lobby. But
even though they tried to turn us out.
I know. The show is something. It's heavy, isn't it, man?
It's heavy. Great scrap.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. So, I mean, I have not seen, I'm not going to proclaim to have seen as many stage shows as you have, Nick, but out of the ones I've seen, without doubt, this is the best show I've ever seen.
You've also seen Harry Potter and the Cursed Child,
yes.
which has the same illusion designer.
Yes.
So the level is kind of up there with the grandiosity of, this epic storytelling that Back to the Future and Harry Potter share. Which one would you go back to? If you weren't a Back to the Future fan, if you were purely judging it on theatricality?
Ooh, that's really tough, that is. I would possibly, when it comes to actual on-stage effects, Harry Potter possibly edges it on that. But when it comes, for me, for the story, and also the staging of, if anyone has seen Back to the Future, they'll know that famous final scene.
Yeah.
It's incredible how they stage it on this. I'm so impressed.
Well, not just scene, but sequence. The whole clock tower sequence was astonishing. But for those of you who don't know, Back to the Future is about a kid who ends up in 1955, and his mum has a crush on him, and he has to make his kind of mum fall in love with the kind of town geek, it's a really touching story, actually. It's a lot more touching on stage than it is in the film.
It has, I think Back to the Future is one of those film series which actually kind of has everything. It's got comedy, it's got the sort of romance, it's got action.
It's a period piece as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's got time travel.
And it makes it funny because we are here in 2020 watching 1985, looking at 1955. So it does have that kind of 3-generation thing going on. Whereas when the film came out, it was just relevant. And we had the whole, the opening of Act 2 has a kind of, this is what the future's going to be like in 2020. We're going to have flying cars and politics will be all normal and stuff like that. And you have TARDISes flying through the sky.
Very accurate, wasn't it?
Lovely to see a good bit of sort of sci-fi crossover.
Yeah.
Various Easter eggs throughout the show.
So it's playing at the Manchester Opera House for how long we don't know, due to circumstances happening at the moment. But it certainly delivers everything that a Back to the Future fan would want. I've seen part 1 and 2 of Back to the Future many times. For some reason, I just cannot sit through I can't get beyond 20 minutes of Back to the Future 3. I don't know.
Not
why.
a Wild West fan.
No.
It's worth it though. You have to do it. We'll have to make you sit down and watch it at some point.
But you were giggling away at certain things going on, and there must have been so many Easter eggs in this show.
Oh yeah. Some great Easter eggs in there. Some great references to the other movies in there as well. Like Nicola said, some great references to other sci-fi pop culture as well comes up throughout it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but there's some very good scenes like that. They got the references in. They got the key scenes of the film in perfectly, I would say. We'll come on probably to the actors in a moment, but they were fantastic. But what's nice as well is that they have changed bits in it. It's not changed because I do worry sometimes.
You're telling me there's no Libyan terrorists?
Yes, no, they were interestingly written out. But it's not. Sometimes I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I like things to be as they were, and if things change, well, why has it changed? But actually, it doesn't affect it. If any way, enhances seeing the musical. The bits they've changed.
What we've done today.
Yeah.
We've been sort of saying separately that actually, there's all the kind of classic jokes in there that you expect, like make like a tree and get out of here and those sort of things. But then they'll kind of add to it, and those are the jokes that are kind of almost getting the bigger laughs because
Interestingly, there was no Marvin.
Yeah, I was interested that wasn't there.
There's no
Chuck Berry joke.
But let's talk about the bit that I think a point that Nicola says is we all have the beats in the film that we remember. So, for example, the star of this show is the car, the DeLorean. So that star's entrance is amazing because it goes against everything you remember in the film.
Yes.
In the film, you have this kind of very slow reveal of this car coming out of the back of the lorry, and here I won't say what happens, but it's almost a jump scare, isn't it?
It's a real shock, and because you're not expecting it makes it all the better. I mean, it got a huge round of applause when it happened, didn't it? Because it was so impressively done as well. You didn't see it coming. Literally, we didn't see it coming. So yeah, fantastic.
And its exit at the end of the show is pretty cool as well, isn't
Beautiful.
it? We had some wonderful projections, some projection mapping on 3D surfaces, which was really clever.
Yep.
I don't want to say too much because whatever the future of the show is at the moment, it is certainly going to come back to London.
It's got to.
I hear rumblings of the Dominion Theatre being available for it much later in the year. The show's always wanted the Dominion Theatre, and that's why We'll Rock You left the Dominion years and years ago. So this show has been many, many years in the making. Almost since 1955. And it's not a kind of rip-off Back to the Future. This is an official, approved product, isn't it?
It is.
It's Robert Zemeckis, it's Bob Gale, it's Alan Silvestri, who's done the music along with Glenn Ballard, who's done other music and lyrics. Glenn Ballard did the songs with Ghost, which shares the same producer of Colin Ingram from Ghost, also started at Manchester Opera House, so it's kind of got that lovely Manchester first thing going on. Yes, the story, we all know the story. If I were to critique it a bit, I would say a bit too many songs. I think there's about 21 in total, and it's a bit long.
Possibly the first half, I'd agree with you on that. I felt the second half was perfectly paced throughout. Maybe the first, in only really, really small spaces, sort of dragged possibly, but the second half was absolutely incredible.
So it does feel a bit long, but the action sequences make up for it. Don't know, for every ballad that comes along, there's going to be a great action sequence, and my God, the action sequences are well done. You don't get the feel of speed with the car scenes.
Perhaps.
You can with the kind of multi-layer projection they're doing.
Yeah. I did think it was impressive how, again, don't want to spoil too much about how they do it, but actually in reality the car was maybe barely moving, but actually it did feel like it was kind of going through those streets or whatever, you know, was happening on the screen at the time. And just coming back to the songs, actually, I maybe agree to an extent maybe in the first half a little bit too much, but actually what I really loved about it was that they managed to weave songs into some of the other sort of well-known bits of music from the track. So like the bit where the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, for example, they kind of made a song out of that piece of music. And
that was clever, that.
And we do have Alan Silvestri's famous thematic moments from the score making appearances, which is lovely.
Emotional moments they are.
Yes. But it's just everything that theatre should be, which is magic, storytelling, emotion, and cars that do magic things and turn upside down. That's all we'll say.
Yes.
But yeah, Back to the Future. The cast. It's like Michael J. Fox, not so much Christopher Lloyd, because I think Roger Bart, who was doing his own thing with the role, did his own thing, which you have to do because. But George McFly.
Oh, he's incredible. He was so good. And, exactly. The physicality is perfect. Exactly the same character. Also, I forget his surname, but Ollie, who's playing Marty. It could have been a young Michael J. Fox down there. He was just so good. The cast have got it spot on. And, you know, like I say, for a long time Back to the Future fan, it was just that blew me away. Just being sort of almost made me tearful, sort of thinking like I was watching those characters down there.
Almost made you tearful.
Oh no, yeah, genuinely, I actually spent about probably 90% of the second half crying because just because everything was done like so ridiculously perfectly. I mean, like Chris says, most of it did just feel like you were watching the same actors. Somehow we'd all gone back in time, and there was George McFly and Lorraine Baines, and they actually they look so much like them in their physicality.
But is that a flaw then in the fact that all they're doing is putting the film on stage?
I don't think so, because I mean, it's such a well-loved franchise that I think sometimes when you go to kind of theatre shows and they put their own spin on the characters, it works really well. I wouldn't take anything away from shows that do that, but I think with Back to the Future, it might be a little bit more difficult to do that, and I think the fact that they get the character so ridiculously spot on.
Apart from Roger Bart playing Doc Brown, who does do his own
but
thing.
I do really
He's
like
still very much. He's still very much the Doc, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still very much that character, and I think sort of
That's Doc, not dog, because there wasn't a dog in this.
Yes,
He's just got a bit more
Einstein
sass.
was cruelly written out. But from what you were just saying about, is it a mistake? Are they just putting the film on stage? I don't think so, because there were so many extra bits and so many extra jokes and things. Like there's the joke about you are my density and everything, and they then add an extra line to that, which actually got an even bigger laugh because people weren't expecting it. So they are developing it still. It's still different to the
And
film.
you're going to see some serious. We didn't have the swear word, so
No.
What it's doing is it's playing on the expectations of the fans.
It is.
Like the car entry and the famous lines, and giving us something different, which is fun.
Absolutely.
They can use the fact that everyone in that theatre already knows the characters,
Yes.
already knows the
But
story.
if you don't, it's still a great story.
but they can almost use it as shorthand, so like they don't need to introduce the characters because we know them already, and it gives them that license to be able to develop those characters a bit more than we see on screen.
I would love them to do the sequel though, because that would be really clever.
Me too.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's make this happen.
Yeah. So Back to the Future is possibly not playing at the Manchester Opera House at the time of recording.
Well, it is if you get a DeLorean and go back to February.
I love on the poster it says book your tickets yesterday.
Yes.
I presume it will come to the West End because it deserves
It'll
to.
be a travesty if it doesn't, to be honest.
And Broadway and beyond. But Chris and Nikki, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
are you telling me that you've made a musical out of Back to the Future?
Oh, they did it with some style.
Thanks. So thank you to Chris, Nikki, and Ryan for appearing in this episode of Musical Talk. We will be back with episodes. We're not stopping. We've got discussions from David Herzog coming up about New York and a lot more stuff from me and Thos. So until then, thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye. For more information about Musical Talk, please visit our website at musicaltalk.co.uk. You can email us at feedback@musicaltalk.co.uk, listen to past episodes on iTunes and YouTube, and follow our social media channels on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.